You're a monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Notice what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host, as always, Corey, and alongside me is my good pal, Daniel. What's going on, Daniel?
What's going on, folks?
And alongside him is Tony. What's going on, Tony?
What's up, fellas?
How you guys been?
Been good, man. Been good. Been working my ass off.
Yeah, been busy. I just got back from the beach, and we're already planning another beach trip, so that's nice. I'm trying to take advantage of this nice weather we've been having. It's really expensive at the beach, I noticed. Mm-hmm. We haven't been in a while, like we didn't do anything last summer, obviously, because of the pandemic, and then, this year we're trying to play catch up, so been busy with all that, but trying to find time to watch some creature features. So
yes.
Did you guys go to Myrtle Beach, or did you?
Yeah, Myrtle Beach. It's only like a 3-hour drive. I mean, one up there, the North Myrtle, right there where the strip is, where Boardwalk is and all, which is, I pretty much, growing up, that's where we always went, right there on that strip. Yeah. So, stayed in a nice little resort, Coral Beach or something like that, or Coral something. Yeah. It's a nice little place.
Yeah.
So we stayed through an Airbnb though, which sucked because we found out afterwards that the beds were super uncomfortable, like some of the worst hotel beds we've ever slept on. And the company that we rented through hadn't paid their HR bills, so they were like restricting us access to a lot of stuff. Like we couldn't use the arcade, we couldn't even buy drinks at the hotel. Because they got a bar outside, and like they start a tab, and they ask you your room number, and you tell them, and they put you down. And so I go up there, and I'm like gonna get a super fruity drink for me and my wife. I was like, I'm a beer drinker, but I'm feeling a little saucy. So I go to the bar, and I go to order a fruity drink, and the guy's like, "Sorry, man, you can't, because you're not staying through the hotel. You're staying through Airbnb, so get lost, basically." Oh. Nah, he was super nice and all, but it just sucks because you're at the beach on vacation. You've already gotten a terrible night's rest because the beds suck ass, and then you want to get a drink, and they deny you that right. So, and it was bike week, so we lay down at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning and go to sleep, and all we hear is motorcycles outside. Damn, bro. Even on the 10th floor. But. Jeez. Other than that, I mean, we had a great time.
It's awesome.
Lots of fun. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically been a work week for me.
Same here.
So,
Same here.
We live exciting lives, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Very. But I actually had a full weekend off for a change, which was awesome. And I sat down and I watched a film. It was a creature feature. Didn't care for it. I'll be discussing that next week.
Looking forward to it.
Nothing like a bad creature feature. Like, if it's a bad slasher, at least it's somewhat salvageable. But if it's a creature feature and it's bad, it's bad.
Yeah, exactly. I think this one got like a 3-star rating for me on Letterboxd. It was pretty.
That's actually not bad, dude.
I mean, cool. It was on the line. I'm not gonna lie. This was a film that I had watched years ago and ultimately didn't care for. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a chance to redeem itself. This is Creature Feature Month. Why not? Yeah. So I sat down with it and I was like, okay, yep. I still don't like it.
Okay. Well, did it?
There was some things that grew on me. I will say that. So that's the reason why I got a little bit more of an upper hand. But yeah, I'll discuss it more later.
Sometimes you just gotta, now if it's somewhat redeemable and are things about the movie you liked, 3 stars, that's acceptable. But sometimes you just gotta slap that 1-2 star on them, show them the false. Like I watched Ghoulies, the first Ghoulies movie. That movie was ass. I gave it a 1.5 star. Still haven't watched the second one yet. It's still in my queue. So
That's the one. That's the one to see. The second one is the one to see.
I powered through the first one to get to the second one, and I hadn't even watched the second one yet.
Oh wait, here's the thing. Okay, you can't even buy that one by itself, right? You got to buy it on the multimedia disc.
Yeah, because the Blu-ray is the double pack as well. So yeah, I think the only way you can buy it is on those double packs.
I bought the double pack DVD for what was that, $1?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
I think I got Ghoulies on like a horror thing with like Chopping Mall and Class of '84 or something like that.
You got those multi like those
Yeah.
multi.
Yeah, it's got like 7 films on it, but Ghoulies 2 is definitely on there.
I like it as long as it's in theme with, because like sometimes they do those double packs and they make no sense. It's like Shawshank Redemption and Blade. What?
Yeah, that one always killed me because the only way that you could get that film is that way, and I was like, you know what, fuck, like I don't like buying stuff like that. I like having separate copies of everything. I guess you would say an anal collector.
We know.
But I mean, like snapper cases, I don't care for them. I don't like having them in my collection. I don't know. I'm weird like that.
I usually don't have an issue with snapper cases, and we discussed this many times about why you dislike them, but it's funny because I have Rumble in the Bronx on a snapper case. I'd like to get on Blu-ray eventually, but I was trying to shut the case the other day because me and David sat down to watch it. I'm sitting there trying to shut it, and it wouldn't shut. I was like, fucking snapper case. I was like channeling my inner Corey for a minute there.
That little peg breaks off, you're fucked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Then you have to put tape over the front.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's another thing too. When you go to buy it from the store and they don't do it properly, they'll put tape over it, over the cover, pull it off, and it rips the artwork up. Like it's terrible.
I got a situation like that, and to this day, like I don't like stickers on my boxes either. Nothing has stickers in my collection except for one movie. One movie does, and I will refuse to take that sticker away. I've told that story many times, but the one that I do have is a snapper case of Astro Zombies. I bought that at Manifest years ago, and it sat there for like the longest time because the ones that sat there for like the longest time, you can't hardly get the stickers off. Well, lo and behold, the minute I started trying to get that sticker off just a little bit, it fucking tore the cover art, and I was like, fuck. Yep. I was so mad. So mad.
I wish I had my snapper case of Ready to Rumble still, because it's like $40 on Amazon.
Well,
I spent $4 at Manifest for it. But I'm with Tony. As soon as I go to buy it, they'll reprint it.
Yep. It's going to be, Blu-ray will be announced that day.
Yep.
As soon as it's bought.
Yep. That same thing happened with Rawhead for me.
Yep.
Literally like a year later, it was announced somebody got the rights to Rawhead.
Yeah. Finally announced the rights. They released it.
And I was like, well, there you go.
Yep.
I'm glad I didn't spend the $1,000 to get the DVD.
Yeah, the DVD was insanely priced.
$1,000 for a piece of shit movie.
I'm wondering if we're gonna get a Rawhead Rex in the roulette episode. I'm wondering.
We have to at least discuss it.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it definitely.
I would say
Rawhead.
Shower me with your glory.
Shower me. Fucking weird movie. Clive Barker's like, I didn't direct that. I don't know what that is.
I didn't write that. No, I'm not going to sign that.
I think honestly that was the movie because he had finally got fed up with it as the movie that finally got him to say, you know what, I'm going to direct Hellraiser. I don't want anyone else directing this. I want to direct it. I want to see it through my way. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. We greatly appreciate it. Just a reminder, you can find us on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. We actually had some kind words given to us from some listeners the other day. Shout out to those who have been liking our stuff and commenting. You guys rock. Gotta continue to do so. It helped push the show a lot, and that'd be awesome. Kind of get our name out there. As we continue to grow and put more content out for you guys. You can also find us, of course, on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere you can listen to podcasts. Be sure to like, share, leave us a review. That would help out a lot too. We've been doing a lot on Twitter lately. I've actually been posting a lot of stuff on there. I'm getting the word out, meeting some cool new people. So follow us on Twitter at Monster_Corner. Follow us on TikTok at Midnight Monster 20.
Mm-hmm.
And join our Facebook group. We do a lot of stuff in there too. Just go to Facebook, go to the search bar, type in the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. Just ask nicely. We'll let you in because it is a closed group. At least I'll let you in. Tony might drag you underwater and have his way with you. Which is oddly, that's what that actually goes in line with what we're talking about today. So nice little segue there. What movie are we doing today, Corey?
We are doing Humanoids from the Deep. It's a Roger Corman film from 1980, also known as Monster.
Yay, Monster. Yeah.
Monster.
Due
to international copyright laws, it isn't.
I do want to throw this out there, though. I believe now we do know where old Greg came from.
He did. He was a failed experiment. Failed experiment. So old Greg was that was the little baby at the end of the movie.
Yep.
There you go. Scaly little manfish.
Scaly. What are you doing in these waters?
I think that's the tie-in we all hoped for. I think that title's generic as hell. Humanoids from the Deep is such a better title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Monster, come on. I mean, Monster, that's generic.
They have another title, like Beneath the Darkness or something crazy.
Yeah, Beneath the Dark. Yeah, I think that was the other title. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which sounded cool too. I like that one as well. That was supposed to be their more classy title. I think they tried to sell the film as more classy that way, including that title, from what I hear. But
Classy.
and more classy, more like in line with like Creature from the Black Lagoon, like the classic Universal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Us as the viewers, but unfortunately for people that were expecting that, that's not the case at all. That's not what you get at all.
No.
This is the IMDb description of this movie. Humanoid sea creatures start killing a fishing town's residents and raping their women. That's like almost on par with my Letterboxd review. This is IMDb.
Yeah, I checked that out too right before we started recording. It's pretty much up.
Oh, where's the lie though? I mean, it is exactly what it is. Corey, did you find a budget for this movie? Because I didn't seem to see one.
No, I didn't see one either. In my opinion, I would feel that it had a decent budget, but I couldn't find one.
It's Corman. So he's gonna try to push those pins. So
Cut some corners.
Got some corners.
Cut some clothes apparently too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently he wanted the movie to be a little sexier.
Well,
Robert Peters didn't want that.
Well, that's what you get with a Corman film, though. You know what you're in for. He is known for his sleaze films,
Well, he's known for doing, more sleaze and stuff, but on a budget. Like he's the master of budgeting
Yeah.
of production. Like he does that better than really anybody. He's been doing it like that for his career has spanned decades, man. I mean, he's been in the filmmaking game for, man, I wish I knew the exact amount. It has to be 50 years plus. Like, it's insane.
Mhm.
So the amount of stuff that he's produced and even shot, and he's a legend. He's a
Yeah.
legend. He just has
Well-
a way of really, really honing in on a budget and keeping a production under budget or right at budget. Like, I don't think he ever goes over budget.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't he part of that whole ordeal where everyone was going over to the Philippines and making exploitation films?
I'm not 100% sure on that. That sounds very familiar, though. That sounds like something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was very under budget because you could literally go there and film a film for near to nothing, and anyone and everything wanted to act in the film there, so they were just literally doing it for free.
A lot of Italian blood, too.
Yeah.
So he's been in show business, at least according to IMDb, as a producer. He's got 416 credits just as a producer since 1954.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
He's acted in 43, wrote 11. He's in 13 as an additional crew. He's been in it long. Like, I was just scrolling down as you guys were talking, and it just kept going. Like, it is ridiculous how many movies this guy's had his hands on.
Mm-hmm.
And, so this was the 80s. This was the time of the sleazy slashers.
Decadence on full display.
He knew what sold, and he wanted nudity, he wanted sexuality. Barbara Peters did not want that. In fact, a lot of that stuff was added after, and even to the extent of where the main actress, Ann Turkel, didn't even want the movie to be released. She's like, I don't even want my name associated with this. It's too sleazy.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact, she had spoken with I think an Australian magazine or something. She was like urging for them not to to release the movie, because it was just a lot of stuff had been added after. She had no idea, and it was for its time. I mean, it was pretty grotesque. It could have been way worse, by all means. It was a lot of the scenes were pretty quick and pretty, boom boom, get the point, get in, get out, literally. But it was still kind of weird to see, but it I guess served a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the ending was kind of a ripoff of another movie I really like.
Well,
yeah.
The cool thing about this film is on its surface level, it's a people would see it as a sleaze film, like a raunchy, gore-filled, like sex and nudity and like all this stuff. But there's some really interesting stuff happening, below the surface almost. It's like there's some stuff to talk about. And I can't wait to get to a discussion about it because I like character development in this movie is really, really keen. I'm down with that because I like what they did.
Yeah.
There's really, really cool stuff happening here, man. On the surface level, people will say, hey, it's a sleaze fest, but there's some stuff going on here that make it a little bit more than just a sleaze fest,
Yeah, it touches on I'm sure they might not have meant to do this, but they touch on a lot of like sensitive issues in horror movies in general. Like one of them being rape, another being like kid deaths in movies. Like wow, that's a very the first person to die in the movie is a kid, even though they don't really show it, but it happens. So that was kind of like that happened. I was like, whoa. Like taboo, red flag,
exactly what you're. Exactly what you're like. Buckle up. This is going to be a fucking ride.
Yeah, exactly.
The first death movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's maybe even some commentary on like racism towards the Native American community.
Definitely.
So some pretty interesting stuff we're going to dive into. I will point out real quick, something like if we go back in time, it's kind of like a what if scenario. Because Joe Dante apparently had been offered the director's seat for this movie and turned it down.
What if,
dude? there's no telling.
That would be great.
There's no telling what this movie. Now, I don't know if they would have been able to do it on like that budget, because you look at, probably like the price of one of the Gremlins puppets was probably the budget for this whole movie. But you get Joe Dante on board, man. You definitely need to bring your A game and just let him go at it. That would have been awesome.
Because before this was released, he had directed Piranha, so he had kind of, he was probably on Corman's radar already, having directed that. I think he directed that
Right.
before, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm kind of curious why that didn't work out, like why he just said no. Like, I wonder if it was the script, he didn't like it. Could be anything.
There might have been the amount of nudity and gore, and at the time that was, again, like you said, it was almost a little taboo.
Could very well be that.
Yeah.
Always cool to speculate.
Good bad. Yeah. So, but yeah. So the movie starts off, it pretty much puts you in the first person right off the bat in the eyes of the creature, which I think was cool. I love underwater shots, especially like underwater monster movies. It's just really cool to be in the first person of, at the helm rather of the creature. So they kind of put you there right off the bat, you already know what the movie's about. It's underwater rapey fishmen. So you put in the cockpit right off the bat, but so it's you're in the small town setting, which is always great for movies like this because they don't have to get too complicated with it. Everything's just kind of tight knit. Everyone knows everybody, and it's it's just got that homey, fisherman village feel.
Yeah,
movie. I really like that a lot. And this is also a, if you will, a coastal horror.
Yeah, there it is. And it's as a group, we talk about coastal horror, and this is a perfect example of good coastal horror. You get that seaside atmosphere, you get the softness in the film grain, and it really adds to that even more. But you just hear it in the background, in the shots and stuff like that. You hear the coastline, and it's just you just dive straight into it, man. It sucks you in.
Yeah.
And when we talk about coastal horror, which we talk a lot about on our podcast, this is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
And this movie was filmed in the colder months too, so those scenes where they're in the water was probably pretty cold.
If I'm not mistaken, I do believe I saw like breath on some of the actors too, in some of the scenes when they were on the boats and stuff. You could definitely see some of them.
They're wearing warm clothes too, and then like there's like one scene they're on the boat and they're wearing jackets because it's probably freezing cold out there. And the next scene you see like some of the youngsters getting in the water. Like it's summertime, they're freezing cold. That water cannot be,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm glad you pointed that out, man. Right off the rip, that's the first thing I get with this movie is that coastal horror vibe. Some of my favorite vibe in a film. Like I said, I think what I'm going to do on Letterboxd is go through and just start a list of like good coastal horror films, and put stuff like this and. Dead and Buried, which is a great one. It's got a great coastal. The Fog, yeah. I'm just gonna add more and more. The more I find, I'm gonna seek them out and try to find more. But I don't know, something about that vibe of like, and it's a lot to do with the film grain too, and like the way the film shot. And, there's almost a softness to it, so it looks hazy, and I don't know. I always dig that. I always like that. It adds so much to atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And one of the things that I love is just the atmosphere behind these coastal horror films. You got like a mist and a fog, like you said, and then just and cueing back to what you were saying, Daniel, the underwater shots. Those underwater shots I really kind of took my breath away because at one moment I felt like I was watching Creature from the Black Lagoon again, and I could just tell that those shots were definitely taken from that film. Had to
Yeah.
have been, because I mean, for the time period that Creature from the Black Lagoon was shot, it was really amazing the way that they filmed that, and those shots were amazing, and you could
They were
definitely tell
clean
they,
too.
yeah, definitely they
They
were
were
very
clean, like
clean.
almost like they kind of makes you wonder, did they film it in like a tank or did they actually go underwater? You know,
It was
because like there was
probably
one scene where there
it
was
was
like a
probably a
fish that swam
diver.
by. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure, but um, the water was just nice and clean. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it made that had that blue tint going. With
Which kind of makes me wonder if that wasn't shot in a in maybe a tank, like you said, yeah, maybe a tank, like
yeah,
at an aquarium or something. Hmm.
it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know the actual facts, but yeah, probably because of just how clean it was. I will reiterate one of the things that I really liked is the scene where uh, Jerry and that girl is on the beach and they're splashing around in the water. They're having a good time. They were making out at first, and then they kind of went off on their own. They were in the water just having a good time. They were like literally ankle deep, you know.
Hmm.
But in an instant, you see Jerry get dragged away from her, and you actually see him like get pulled underwater and like snatched out from up underneath his feet. You can
Yeah.
actually see him being dragged under the
Hmm.
water. I thought that was a great shot.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I want to talk about is the wonderful shots of this film. There are some amazing shots in this film. They really knew
Yeah.
what they were doing with the camera work and everything else.
Yeah. Which is such a big deal. Like I know we talk about movies that are shot well, but you you don't realize like, how much we take that for granted until you watch a movie that's shot really bad.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I've seen some movies that are just they look like there's a movie that I don't know if any listeners out there will maybe watch Red Letter Media's YouTube, but they do the best of the worst. And I was
Yeah.
watching one today of a movie called Robo Woman,
Oh God.
and
Remember that?
they they said it's probably the worst movie they've ever seen. And they've seen a lot of bad movies. And that movie was filmed in 2019, and the camera they used looked like it was from 91, and the shots were just so bad. Like the framework, like the framing means so much, you
And
know,
yeah.
just how you shoot it. It just, oh, it's so important. And like that just the whole time, you shouldn't watch a movie and be jarred at like how bad it looks, you know.
Birdemic.
Yeah, Birdemic. There was another movie they watched called L.A. Wars, where like every other scene, if you pay close attention, you can actually see like the mic booms and stuff in the corner.
I love
That's
pointing out
terrible.
stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
One that I can definitely recall is, and I've mentioned it before, but I think I did a small review on it, but I wanted to buy this movie called Death Ship for like the longest time because of the cover art. I thought that was so cool. I wanted to get that in my collection. Well, finally I was like, you know what? I never bought that movie. I'm gonna buy it. And I bought it and I watched it and I was like, this movie is complete shit. Like there's one scene where I forget the guy's name. Maybe Tony, you might know the captain's name, but I forget his name. But he's standing up like on the main part of the ship, and he's like, come meet me in the brig, and you look over, you can literally see a camera sitting beside the actor with a guy like behind the camera, like watching him. It's like, are you serious right now?
It was George Kennedy. I think George Kennedy was in that. Yeah.
George Kennedy, that's the
Yeah.
one. Yeah, yeah. The scene where he's up on top of the ship. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's so funny.
so terrible.
But you're right. The cover art's amazing.
It is.
It really is. It's fantastic.
But the point is like you have movies that this movie was made in 1980.
Mm.
Granted, you had Roger Corman producing it,
Mhm.
but you still, you had a lady directing it who I don't believe she necessarily had her hands in horror a lot. You can correct me if you're wrong. If I'm wrong.
I'm not sure.
Bury Me an Angel, which looks like a cheesy action film. Summer School Teachers. Like she didn't. It don't look like she did a whole lot of horror. You
Yeah.
know.
Right.
But she was still like she understood camera work. She understood character development, acting. Like she did a really good job. And then that was back in 1980. Like here we are now in 2021, and we have these terrible movies that come out.
Which Tony and I had a conversation yesterday about her being the director of this film, and then we also talked about the female director of was Slumber Party Massacre.
Massacre,
You
yeah.
know, and the thing about it, Daniel, is I brought up the fact that, well, maybe these women were directing these films because that film, Slumber Party Massacre, has a lot of nudity. There's a lot of
Same kind of stuff.
nudity shots in a women's locker room and stuff. And it was almost like, well, maybe these women were putting this stuff out there to kind of raise awareness of this is what's happening in the film industry. I can't say for certain, but
Yeah.
that would be interesting especially because this film does deal with a lot of nudity and some sleaze and rape.
Well, Slumber Party Massacre was a commentary on like nudity and all and slashers and stuff at the time. This movie, though, if you remember, Roger Corman wanted a lot of the sex and nudity in the movie. Barbara Peters did not, and that stuff wasn't added till later. So I think at one point he actually fired her and got another director in to finish the movie just to put that stuff in there. So I don't know if there was the issue of the humanoids mating with humans at the time, but every scene that they showed that there was nudity and sex involved. So I'm wondering if and even Ann Turkel said she liked the idea of playing in this movie because it seemed like a really smart sci-fi movie. She was playing this scientist that was had been studying these creatures for so long, and they had actually been and it inadvertently had been created due to a failed experiment with salmon. And she was thrilled to death to play in this movie, because it was it's scary, it's sci-fi, it's smart. But then Roger Corman just sleazed the hell out of it. and they didn't know until after the movie had been released, and they were like, "Oh shit, what is this?" So, but I definitely I'm with you there. That is something you typically see. Maybe not always, but when you have a female director, it seems like there is commentary there with I don't know, sexism and stuff, which is not always a bad thing, there's a time and place for it, definitely. I feel like it fit this movie well. Now come to think of it, now I'm thinking there was a scene where she had talked about the creatures mating with humans. So maybe that was maybe they did know, but either way, I don't think she.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
Yeah, I don't think she expected the heavy nudity, because there was some scenes that was kind of uncalled for, like the scene at the carnival when he's chasing that one girl and her top just flies off. They didn't have to show it, they did. We thank them for it. I'm just kidding, but yeah.
I just like the whole tent scene.
Oh my god, that scene.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that scene kills me every time.
First thing I pointed out to Tony was, I was like, doesn't that look like Annie from Halloween? And he goes, oh my god, you're right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she looks just like Annie. She's very, very attractive lady. But the whole
do you have to be to woo a girl into bed via ventriloquism?
Exactly. We were talking about that. I'm like, when does that ever work? That
doesn't
never work, or never does work. Only in movies.
That would never work for me.
Right.
At one point, are you deemed a creep for having a fucking doll with you?
I would say,
in bed?
Hanging around with a not nothing against any ventriloquists out there. Please don't take this the wrong way. But if you're just
Hey, if
hanging
you
out.
are a ventriloquist, please answer our question. Does that work?
Yeah. Does that work? I'd love to know. But
We're all our horror movie aficionados / ventriloquist out there.
but that scene with the dialogue and everything, it just has me rolling every time.
Yeah.
Every time I see it, it's so out of place. It is so out of place, but it's just like, is this really happening? But you just can't help but laugh. You can't help but laugh because it's so absurd. It's so absurd.
Yeah.
I
So.
just love the fact that he was like just throwing lines out there like am I gonna get a splinter? Oh, don't worry, I sanded it.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that's
Oh yeah,
amazing.
real highbrow stuff in this one.
Yeah. That's one thing I will say. The dialogue in this film is actually pretty fun. It's actually there's some comical stuff in here.
There is, yeah,
It's
there
under
is,
the
and there's,
radar, but there is some comical stuff in there.
yeah. And I like the more. I really gravitate toward the more serious conversations that they have in this movie. Like, there's some deep stuff going on in here with. I guess we could talk about Vic Morrow's character. Ooh, Slattery.
Hmm.
He's a man. They set him up to just be hated from the get in this
Yeah,
movie. He's got, of course, he's the I guess he would be a local fisherman as well, because it's a fishing town.
but he's
Yeah.
So
he's a he's a guy that everyone looks up to, I think, in this town
yeah,
too.
well, he's got his goon squad with him, like these '80s bullies that have their goon squad following them around everywhere.
Hmm.
These guys are like, yeah, boss, let's do what the boss says, do what the boss, just follow them around, do whatever they want to
Yeah.
do. He's really influential with these guys and stuff like that. So, right off the rip, we learn of I think he's a fisherman too. Yeah, I think so, because yeah, him and the brother go off to do it. But yeah, he's a fisherman too, but he comes from a tribe. He's Johnny Eagle. So we learn about Johnny
Which is a
Eagle.
cool fucking name.
That
Yeah,
is a
which is
cool name.
pretty dope, man. And Vic Morrow's character Slattery just outright is a racist. Let's face it. He doesn't like Native American people, so he's always, calling them, slurs and everything like that. And he just doesn't
Hmm.
like him. They don't get along. It's very hostile with those two. The animosity is just ratcheted up to
Hmm
100. And honestly, well, the reason they really don't get along is because there's a cannery that's going to open up in the town's called Noyo, and a lot of the townspeople are for it because they feel like it's going to help revenue in this town, and help
Hmm.
them, you know, help them
Commercialize the town more.
personalize the town, establish the town more often. But Johnny Eagle holds his values, and he believes in the land, and he does not want a cannery to open up because he believes, like, he's very in tune with the land and fishing. He thinks it's going to mess up the um the fishing and their revenue and how they
Hmm.
make their living, and he doesn't believe in it. So there's that hostility where most of the town believes in it, he doesn't. So you get these two sides. There's a lot of like infighting and stuff going on, and at one point, I think when we first meet our character, like Slattery and Johnny Eagle, there's a line that he says where he's like, Slattery's telling him, he's like, listen, we're going to get this cannery in this town. There's nothing you can do that's going to stand in our way. And Johnny Eagle's like, yeah, that's what Custer said too. I was like, wow, that's cool, man. That's a good line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love history and stuff like that. So that spoke to me. I'm like, oh shit, that was deep, man. Like I said, you get stuff like this in the movie, and it's like, wow, this shit was deep, bro.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, there's just like those two can't stand each other, and our main character Jim, he's kind of caught in the middle. Like, he's for the cannery, but he can also see Johnny's side as well, and he kind of like understands where he's coming from.
Yeah.
So he's kind of caught in the middle of all these guys, and he tries to make the peace as much as he can.
And I think
Uh,
his brother actually says something about that at
Yeah,
one point in time in the
little bit
film.
of little bit of exposition, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Kind of tells him about, hey, he's for the cannery, because it's going to help the town, and he's really for the town, and he just wants what's best for the town.
Hmm.
'Cause I think even him and Johnny talk, and they seem to be good friends, like they seem to be real close. And he's like, Johnny brings up the cannery. He's like, listen, man, I'm for it. You're not. Let's just leave it at that. and let's still be
Yeah.
friends. Okay, that's cool, man. Like,
I don't.
they have
Yeah.
their disagreements or whatnot, but they can still be friends. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Set
He
differences aside.
set differences aside, and just remain friends and be close and stuff like that. So I mean, there's a lot of character development going on in this short little creature feature. It's cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot more substance to it than just a sleaze creature feature. So I don't know, man. I really dig the scene where they're having like, this is the first time they have like a kind of like a dance or like a little party. I can't remember. It's in like
It was
it's
an
in like
awkward dance either.
yeah, it's in like a rec hall and stuff like that. They're introducing the people of the town to the cannery, and they're trying to make their pitch to open it up and really accept them into their town. And everything's going well. Everybody's getting along, having fun, and all of a sudden the tone shifts, like does a 180 or really a 360, and Johnny comes in with a dog that's his dog that's been killed because earlier in the film, all the fishermen like Slattery and all his guys, all their dogs were killed. So they automatically assume it was Johnny because he's trying to get his way.
Well, they thought it was they thought it was funny because Johnny's dog was the only one that was left alive.
Right, he was the only
And
dog.
coincidentally, he's the only one that's against this cannery at the time.
Exactly. So it's led to believe that they murdered Slattery's dog, or not Slattery's dog, Johnny Eagle's dog, and he comes in and the tone just it gets dead serious for a good minute, and then all of a sudden there's a knockout drag out fight, and it's like, oh shit.
Good old classic Donnybrook is what we had on our hands, fellas.
It really is, man. But the cool thing is, and this was a funny moment. So when the guy and his girl are in the truck making out, and he's like, "Oh, what's going on?" He just gets punched in the face.
that was that Jerry guy. That was that Jerry guy that got dragged under the water. Yeah.
He gets popped right in the face, and then he gets knocked back into the truck. He's like, it was a completely random scene, but it was.
Yeah, it happened so quick. Like he's like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" Boom. And the thing is, it was one of the town folks that just punched him randomly in the face.
And that's another thing I wanted to bring up. I don't think anyone's ever going to bring this up in this movie when they talk about a review for this movie. But the continuality with their black eyes and shit throughout the movie, I thought that was brilliant. Because in any other movie, they get into this fight, they have like a black eye, and then later on in the movie, later on scenes, they don't have a black eye anymore. It's a miraculous. No, they kind of hold on to their injuries and stuff throughout the rest of the movie. That was pretty cool. That was pretty clever.
I did notice like how swollen Johnny Eagle's face was.
Yeah. Dude, by the end of it, Johnny looked like he had 10 rounds with Tyson, man. He was all
he still had both ears.
He was in bad shape. But yeah, like even I think his brother Jim's brother Tommy is he had a black eye through the rest of the movie pretty much. Because he could fight too. But the cool thing was, like, Slattery and his guys were beating up on Johnny Eagle, and Jim came to his defense because he was like, "Yo, this man's getting his ass beat by all these guys, and no one's he's just by himself." He's like, the numbers aren't. It's not a fair fight. So he and Tommy jump in and start, fighting Slattery's guys too. I was like, man, that's cool, man. He's in it for his buddy. He's helping him out and stuff like that. He doesn't want to. He don't want to see him get his ass kicked by a group of dudes. Like, it's not fair. It's not a fair fight.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of, like, character building and character development in this movie.
Yeah. You actually care about the characters in this movie. And that was one thing that could really make or break a movie like this, especially a creature feature where, like, there's people going to die. It's like, there is an attachment to the characters. Like, I genuinely did not want to see Johnny Eagle die. I didn't want to see Jim die. I had an attachment with his characters, and that's very important to establish that early in a movie like this, and I think they did it very well. But overall, moral of the story: don't bring a dead dog to a town hall meeting, or everyone will fight.
Shit will go down.
And I gotta say it. There's a cat jump scare.
Cat jump scare. Thank you.
Yes.
I almost texted you when it happened because I was like, oh my god, cat jump scare.
We've just been on a roll lately.
I literally wrote that one down. I was like, I gotta write that note down.
It almost makes you want to do.
We go to the 90s with Relic. We can't escape the cat jump scares. They follow it. They follow us into the 90s as well. Like they're just a trope of horror, and it's a dumb trope.
Is there a movie where you have both a cat jump scare and a killer cat? Like where like the cat jumps out, scares you, then kills you?
The Uninvited. Yeah. The Uninvited, the killer cat film. Yeah. It happens in that.
Yes.
It's a fun movie too. It's a fun movie. It's so much fun. That's another one I'd love to cover on the show whenever we get to a theme like that. But
Yeah,
wow,
Uninvited.
that's a fun time.
Nice.
First one I thought of. I'm sure there's others out there, but that's the first one that popped in my head.
That was funny when I as soon as I saw that I was like, oh, gotta write that one down. Tony's gonna enjoy that one. I knew you were gonna bring that up. Knew it.
Can I say one thing though? Anne Turkle, her character's scientist, her name's Susan Drake in the film. When you first get introduced to her, she already looks suspicious. Like her acting is very like off. It's like she's kind of shifty and kind of, when everyone tries to talk to her, she makes little small talk with people. She's really defensive and kind of like from
Definitely
jump.
out of place.
I will notice like the mayor when he was giving his speech at the town hall meeting, he was kind of like talking in kind of a condescending tone when he was talking about her. If you notice, like this little lady does what they call science. I don't know if you caught on to that. She was kind of like,
And that's almost like word for word what he said.
yeah, like she's got a big brain. She's a woman. And she's kind of like, it's like gave this look like, excuse me. So I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah, she plays like the character kind of off kilter. Like she's really like it's almost like which we later find out she kind of knew something was happening, but she couldn't really say. Like she was under obligation to where she couldn't talk about it with the townsfolk. But she knows something's going on. Like
And then like later the next day or whatever, she was fishing with Jim on his boat with his brother, and there's a scene where they catch something, and it's like really fucking big, and of course the one guy's like, "Give me my whiskey," for some reason, and then loses it. But right before he started pulling it up to the surface, she instantly jumped in and started snapping photos. And right away, Jim got like a weird vibe, and he was like, "What were you taking pictures of? What do you know that we don't know?"
She's like,
that's when he started questioning her.
Yet or something like that. He's like, interesting. And he called his brother up there. He's like, dude, something's going on. Like, I have a feeling.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
I think he actually said that. Like, I've got a feeling.
Going on here. Something's not all what it's cracked up to be. There's some she's telling us. So I just noticed that too. Like right off the rip, her character was very like off-putting and kind of shifting around, and not really making too much conversation with it. Especially like our Jim and stuff like that. Like he mentioned, like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be taking you out, tomorrow to go on a fishing trip and stuff. I got a reel picked out for you and everything like that. She doesn't really like converse with him at all until we find out what's going on, and then she's like really open and really communicate. Open communication. They're talking back and forth about a lot of stuff that's going on. They really work well as a team. The three of them with Johnny Eagle. I like their team. It's pretty cool. They know how to handle a situation. So it's just like I said, I said it once and I'll say it again. Character development, man, is so crucial for a movie. If it's gonna work, oh no, that's not good. Shit.
Did you notice that? Did you notice in that scene, guys, when they were discussing he was going fishing with her the next day? Did you guys pick up on the fact that Jim's wife got jealous in that situation?
Did you?
Yeah, because there was a quick scene where they were all together, and I believe like some of the fishermen or whatever, one of the fishermen that was going with them kind of made a sexual innuendo, if you will, You said something about he's got a big rod and reel picked out for you, and he goes, I do. And then she goes, oh, good. She goes, hopefully I can show you some big fish or something. There was something there. I didn't quite catch the full
Show you my big
conversation.
clam.
Yeah, but instantly, you could see Jim's wife, get instantly. She got a little jealous right there.
Yeah, she did get shafted halfway in the movie.
Yeah.
But till the end of the movie, and she had a really redeeming part.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I can't wait to get to that. I cannot wait to get to that. Dude, that's the chick from The Prowler. I recognized her. I was like, that girl looks so familiar. And she's in The
Really?
Prowler. She was the one that got the pool scene, which was a fucking fantastic scene.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, man, she looks familiar. And yeah, I looked. Matter of fact, I got on Letterboxd and looked it up, looked through her credits, like The Prowler. I knew she looked familiar. That's pretty cool. There's a lot of familiar faces in this movie that have been in a lot of horror films. So yeah,
Wow.
notice that
Yeah,
for sure. But
definitely.
I can't wait to get to that part at the end. Holy shit.
Well, I mean, what are y'all? What are your thoughts on the creatures? I mean, at the end of the day, the special effects, some of them are cool, some of them I could have done without. But you hit up on something a minute ago where you talked about all the bruising and stuff. It just comes down to good makeup.
Yeah.
You know, this film had it. This film had great makeup, had wonderful gore effects, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when you're finally introduced to the creatures, I mean, you see their hands in some scenes. You see, you see a couple things here and there. You don't get to see the full creature until they go on to the beach and boom, they're there. So what are your thoughts on the creatures?
I like the design of them. What it was from what I was reading, like they had one really good suit, and then they had like two makeshift suits that were close enough to pass, but weren't quite as good looking. But they still used them, especially in shots like if there were multiple humanoids on screen. You'd have like the good one front and center in frame, and then like the other two might be kind of off to the side at a different angle, so you couldn't tell that the suit was like worse than the good one.
Yeah.
So they did that a lot. Some scenes where it was hard to tell like which one they used and which one they didn't, because there were some that were looked really good. And then there's the scene where Carol Hill is in the shower and you see him standing outside the window, and it's like that one kind of looked bad. But I think it worked for what it was. It's that campy, cheesy 80s feel, and it just worked for its time. I think if you try to make something like that now, people might be like, "Ooh, that looks rough." Which, I mean, honestly, they'd probably CGI the hell out of it anyway, and it would look even worse. But I think it looked pretty cool.
I just want to mention the fact that we talk about there's one really, really go-to suit that they have, and then there's two of them that are kind of makeshift that they kind of have to work with.
Yeah.
That to me tells me that speaks volumes to the camera work and the editing in this movie. Because if you're able to work with one really good creature suit and two that are kind of work here and there, you have to have tight editing and you have to have good camera work to make that work in the film. And I think it does. It really does work. I mean, of course, you can see a scene or two that's like, okay, that's kind of hokey, but for the most part, especially at the end with the carnival scene, that shit's done really well, bro. Like it's really well done. And I just wanted to point that out there. That just speaks to me like good camera work and good editing, tight editing.
Yeah, because like the carnival scene, you're led to believe that the whole place is being overrun by humanoids, and it's just the way they shot it. They really made it believable.
Exactly.
There was some aerial shots and stuff like that.
Yeah, they really condensed their resources and just made it work. And that scene went on a little longer than I thought it would, and it was well worth it.
Man, it was glorious.
So, but before
I want to go back though, Tony.
Yeah.
Not only is it good editing, good camera. Before we continue on with this conversation, I will say the lighting too.
Lighting as well. Thank
you. Yes, I will say the lighting too. Definitely, the lighting department was phenomenal in this film.
Everybody was on point, and they were doing a stellar job. But to go back, Corey, to what you were talking about with the creature design and the creature effects, there's a couple of scenes. I guess we could talk about it, and I guess it kind of makes sense with what they explain in the movie. It probably doesn't make sense like film wise, but it's in the story. It kind of makes sense too. So most of the humanoids have these really long, extended arms. As they're kind of hokey. I know, love it or hate it. That's just what they look like. But I noticed in some scenes that maybe it was a different suit, but the arms are shorter. They're not as long. So I'm like, okay, when they talk about the evolution of these creatures and how they're still in the evolutionary process, I'm thinking maybe those, for the story, maybe those haven't fully developed like the other ones have that have the longer extended arms. It would have made sense too, because these creatures also have massive brains. Like their craniums are huge. And even she says, when they're kind of doing the autopsy, or they're looking at the creature, and they're like, oh, these creatures have massive like brain capacity, but they haven't fully developed yet. So they can't use it, but they have it, which speaks to the evolutionary process of these creatures. They're still in that process. So they're still in the infancy stage or whatever. Like they're getting to that point. Right. And that's why they're attacking and mating with the women, because they're also evolving. In order to evolve, they have to prolong their species or whatever, and that's the way they do it. So I'm thinking, just in story, I know it probably was a more or less like behind the scenes stuff, where like, oh, we have these hokey suits that the two that we were talking that we mentioned. Maybe that's why there was the shorter arms. I don't know, but for the story, it kind of works with what they explain it. It kind of explains it away a little bit. So I think the creatures look cool, man. I love the webbing on their. I love that. Like they even made a point to show it. Yeah. Like she's, oh, look, they're webbed. Their fingers are webbed and stuff like that. The face looks pretty gnarly. I like that. There's a movie I'm going to talk about when we get to our roulette episode that kind of reminded me of that. So I can't wait to make that connection. But all in all, man, the creature designs are cool, man. I like the shit that's hanging off of them. I like they just look wicked to me. I dig it.
I think the scenes were pretty intense too, like that's what really surprised me, because I was really expecting it to be super cheese, and I guess in a way it kind of was, but at the same time, like, it was pretty intense. Like the scene where that one dude was getting dragged in the water off the dock, and he's got the gun, and he's like rifle butting the hell out of that thing, trying to get it off. Like that was, I thought he was a goner. He ended up, I believe he ended up living, if I'm not mistaken. They got him to the hospital.
Yeah, it was Jim's brother.
Yeah, Tommy. Yeah,
Tommy. Yeah.
which threw me and Tony off, because there's like a couple scenes where he's talking, like he's like, they say, "Hey, bro," "Yeah, bro," and it's like, did you really use that term back in the day like that?
Yeah, we didn't know if that was slang back in the 80s. I was like, oh, well, this is like the early 80s, so we're like, well, that's weird. Like, we didn't realize that they were siblings, so we're like, why are you calling him bro like that? Like, that's something I don't think you normally hear that.
when I first heard that they were like on the boat or whatever, and Jim hollers out something like, "Hey, yeah, bro," and I was like, but is that his name? Maybe I've just misheard him, and he actually said his name, and his name's like Bry or something.
He's like, "Saw, dude."
No, I was just kind of curious. I just didn't realize it, and then you realize that they're brothers. They have they're just like, they have that bond or that relationship. So it's like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. But I didn't know that at the time. I knew that watching it now, but I just wanted to point that out. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And then you made a point of talking about it too, Corey. I was like, okay, I guess I wasn't the only one that thought that was kind of weird.
Going back to some of the characters though, like Hank Slattery, they had that scene where he was, they were kind of coasting up to the cabin where Johnny Eagle lived. They were going to sabotage his cabin to, kind of send a message. No matter who was there, they didn't give a shit. But they threw a Molotov, and by Molotov I mean small stick of C4, because
it blew the fuck out of that cabin.
It exploded. That cabin was toast.
Well, dude,
Little
in
did
a
they
way,
know he had a meth lab in there.
Little did he know. And what's even funnier is later, whenever they're talking to the cops or whatever, and they're trying to explain to him about these fish creatures that got attacked. And Hank's like, yeah, they attacked you and they blew your cabin up.
they blew your cat. Oh, he was real quick to blame them for that. Yeah.
So in his mind, he was going to pin the blame on these humanoid fish creatures that are apparently intelligent enough to make small explosives.
Explosive. And then they're premeditative, so they try to.
It's not the worst plan. Also, they're racist. They don't like Indians.
Yeah, they don't. They really don't. Which it's because there's a bar scene where he's talking to his guys because they find out that Johnny Eagle hired a attorney from like upstate or whatever. He's a big name attorney, and he's willing to take the case on for nothing because he believes he can win the case. It's an open and shut case. He's got it.
Yeah.
That way, this town will not see this cannery. So Slattery's almost like, we have to kill this guy. And he's telling his goons that without actually telling them that. And they're like, dude, no. Like, beating him up and giving him shit's one thing, but I don't want to kill the dude. Like, It's not worth it. It's not worth it for that. So the goons that are usually like, yeah, boss, we got you. We'll do whatever you say. They're kind of like put off. And they're like, no, dude, I don't really want to do that at all. But still, he has like pull with these guys, and he actually drags like two of them. I think it was two of them on the boat with him to go with him to essentially assassinate this guy. Like they were that hell bent on stopping him so they can get this cannery in this town. I'm like, damn, like that's fucking that's rough, man. But then, well, I'll talk about it when we get to the end. I don't want to jump too far ahead. But the gore. Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was very, very pleased with the gore. Like whenever they would slash someone in the back, it would take chunks off their back.
I still, the dude in the water, when we're talking about got pulled away, when he got turned around, half of his face was gone. Like that was
really cool.
Like,
yeah. I like how they just like slapped him on the back and like Daniel was saying, like their ribcage would be showing and stuff. It's like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Taking chunks out, man. And then like it progressed. Like the gore progressed in the movie. Like there weren't really cutaways, I don't think,
Hardly.
Like they did a pretty good job of like showing everything and really laying into practical effects, which is good. You want to see that, and the 80s did that so well, and that was, that night we had the Friday 13th marathon. That was one of my biggest gripes. And I don't want this to rabbit trail off or anything, but there were some sequels that like did a good job of showing stuff, and then there were some that were like cutaways.
Yeah, unfortunately,
it just killed it, and when you watch a movie like this, you want to see it. You want to see it all, because it just adds to like the, oh my god, the shock factor. So they did a good job, I think, with what they had, so that was kind of cool. I mean, there was like even a couple scenes where it was like it reminded me like them old Japanese like martial arts or ninja films, where they like cut a limb off and then the blood goes squirting out their arm for like, for like 10 minutes. Like there was a couple of those scenes. Like I don't even know what was happening. I guess the fish was like biting them on the neck. Like they grab a dude, pull him in, and like all of a sudden just blood just starts squirting out of his neck. I don't know if that's their claws doing it or their teeth or what, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Really
I dug the gore. I thought the gore was fantastic, and I love it. Like you said, they don't cut away. They show it. They make a point to show it. They get their money's worth, and I think that's got a lot of the Corman influence. Is like, no, if we're paying for it, you show that shit. You don't cut away. I don't give a damn what the MPAA says or what. I want it shown.
I paid for this.
It's like it's got to be shown.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about movies like this, where they took their time to utilize all of the resources and all the practical effects and all, and once again, we talk about this, like they don't make movies that they used to, and it's sad to see that now, like everything just gets CGI'd to death and it ends up looking worse, And that was kind of like a realization for me whenever I watched I don't know whenever it kicked in. I mean, because like I was younger during like the early 2000s when movies like Matrix came out, and I was just like in awe at like what they did with that movie, you know. And I guess the story alone really held up, and so you didn't care about some of the CGI,
Mm-hmm.
which I think the first one still holds up pretty well. They went a little crazy with the sequels, but especially the second one. Second one had some pretty rough CGI moments. Still cool though. But I think like when I went to go see Prometheus in theaters, and they had like CGI blood and stuff, I was like, what? You know, like it just wasn't.
That's one thing I never understood because it's so easy to do practical blood. Why would you CGI? I don't
Yeah,
understand. One of the
Mm-hmm.
easiest things I think you could do in the special effects industry, if you have the right mix, like you can do that no problem. You can make it. So to CGI, it just seems it comes to me
yeah,
comes off to me like a little bit lazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or like the creature that comes out, you know, like the specifically the scene I'm thinking of is the when she's in that machine and she's cutting that creature out of her belly, and you know, like that whole scene was just like kind of overdone with CGI. When they could have made it so much better with practical effects. But it's good CGI. Like, you know, those movies have really good CGI, but at the same time, it's kind of like, man, you
Well,
know,
it all depends on the genre too. I think CGI mainly works for the like the superhero stuff and all that stuff, but for horror, like I don't know, man. It's real give and take. Like a lot of the times, practical for horror is the way to go, and 99% of the time, it to me anyway, it is. But there's always
yeah.
moments where CGI can be added in seamlessly and it actually kind of work. But very few, very few.
Well, it can make or break a movie, and more often than not, I notice it breaks movies, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of a small example, but like I recently finally sat down and watched The Protector 2. And you know, the first one was like terrible story. Like you stole my elephant, so I'm gonna beat you all up. Was such a ridiculous concept of a story. But some of that action in the movie is some of the best in a martial arts film you can ask for. Like even the scene where he's walking up those stairs at that apartment complex. It's all one shot.
Yeah.
That's impressive. And he did all his own stunts in the movie. Like it was just amazing. And then the
It's
second one
Tony
comes out.
Jaa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I don't know why he's like the most unmarketable martial arts star out there. He just is. He made two good movies and then but Protector 2, you know, comes out and they have green screen effects, they have CGI. It is just over. Like there's even scenes where they used wired assisted stunts when they could have found a way to not, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like there's one scene where he runs along the side of this sign to jump from building to building, and it's obviously a wired effect, and it's obviously green screen, and you're like, that looks rough, you know, and it just kind of killed it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, um, you know, I don't know. I guess it's easier to do CGI.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more. Well, I wouldn't say costly. It just depends on the amount of CGI you use and like I said, the film and everything. But
Oh yeah,
um, it probably is a little bit easier to go through
yeah.
and do all that instead of practical. But I mean, these guys that do practical effects are so talented, and it's almost like criminal to not let them use their talents in movies. It
Mm-hmm.
just seems to me that is just so like it's just so wrong to not let these guys shine and do what they do best and let people see their art. It's almost like a painter that's a fantastic painter that everybody loves that oh there's a new like process being done now and then the painting like I don't know, I'm stretching here, but like oil colors or whatever like that, it's a thing of the past. So, somebody that creates this beautiful, amazing artwork is just getting pushed aside for this new technique or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really sad, man. It really is sad. But that's what makes me appreciate films like this when you have so much practicality shown on screen and there's no cutaways and they linger on it and I just appreciate it so much more because you just don't see it.
Mm,
You don't see it as much as you used to. So it makes you appreciate it more.
Mm-hmm.
right. Most definitely. That and a lot of tits. A lot of tits.
Yeah. I was gonna There's, yeah.
A lot of one might call it unnecessary amounts of nudity.
Unnecessary yet so necessary.
Yes, so I must see.
Yeah.
Yeah, caught in the middle.
Yeah. Sure.
Going back though, where we were starting to talk about the carnival scene,
Mm.
that was so fun.
Oh man. It's
One of my favorite shots of that entire scene was the merry-go-round, the scene on the merry-go-round. So as this merry-go-round's spinning, you see one of the humanoids attack a guy in a chair on it, and then it goes around again. Now this guy's limped over dead, and there's now a girl on there freaking out, and then it spins around again, and now the humanoid and the girl is gone. So obviously he got her. I
right.
thought that was such a fun little.
He broke out of his cage and he got that. Yes.
This is pure chaos and just destruction with this carnival scene.
It really is.
It's funny because they're like, oh, they pull up, they have proof of these creatures' existence. They show the people the body, and then as soon as that happens, all hell breaks loose, and they just pop up underneath the pier and just start mauling and attacking everybody. And like you just like, holy shit, that escalated so quick.
So quickly.
I think of the Ron Burgundy meme every time. It's like, oh, that escalated quickly when he.
Because they just got there, they're like, we got to warn you about these creatures. Ah!
Too late.
Scenes like that in movies always get me, man, when there's just absolute carnage.
Yeah,
Like,
I love it.
And it's some of it's ridiculous carnage, like there's that scene where he rips that dude's head off. That was freaking awesome. Like the first, I think the one and only decapitation scene in the movie. Like this dude gets it bad. He just gets his head ripped off. And but it reminded me of like that scene. What's that ridiculous horror movie with the killer Christmas trees?
Oh, Treevenge.
Treevenge, yeah. That scene where they're like running down the street, like killing everybody, like so ridiculous. Oh my gosh, man.
Oh man.
Like scenes like that, they get me, man, because I'm like, God, because it's like one scene after the next. You're like, oh my God, what is going on?
It's pure entertainment, man. It's fun. It's fun to watch. It's like this is fucking crazy, and I'm watching it, and I can't believe what I'm seeing. Like it's almost like a assault on the senses. It's just fun.
Like,
I even wrote that on my notes. It's like there's so much destruction and chaos that's going on. That I love every minute of it. Because it's almost like they went there. It's like I appreciate the fact that you went there. Thank you, movie. Thank you for that choice. It was a wise choice. It's one of my favorite sequences in the whole movie.
No.
So, thank you.
I do think it's funny though. I don't know if like they just couldn't get this scene right, and they didn't want to spend, all this money on gasoline or what. But the scene where they're on the boat and they're pouring gasoline all in the water, hoping to burn them, And he's like, all right, light them on fire or whatever he says, and then she lights it, and it's just like a little campfire, like in the middle of the water.
Yeah. It had no effect at all, I don't think.
No effect. And then you see another one like Ignite right behind it, and then they cut away. And I'm like, what a fail.
I'm glad they kept that in there, though.
Yeah, it was like, poof. It's like a little campfire. Right.
I'll tell you who does damage, though, man. Johnny Eagle fuck some humanoids up, man. He's busting caps in every one of them.
Unlimited bolt action rifle.
I'm telling you, man. He's fucking...
I love it whenever you hear him cock the bolt. Like, like they use the sound effect just for the bolt. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, it was loud, man. It's like louder than the gunshot.
My thing was he was like shooting numerous amounts of ammunition, into like the torso of these humanoids, and they weren't like affected at all by it up until like, okay, you bashed one's head in. There is an exposed brain.
Yeah, it's almost
Why not just go for that every time?
It's the biggest target
almost
too.
Yeah.
It's almost like video game logic when you see a boss and you have a boss fight and you're like, oh, where's the weakness? You got to analyze where's the weakness? Where's the weakness? You find the weakness. It's like something that's very obvious. You're like, okay, like an exposed heart that's glowing or something like that. Or it's like, that's what you aim for. That's what you shoot for. Because I'm glad you said that, because there's a moment when he puts like, I want to say like 4 or 5 rounds in a humanoid, but it's all in the torso, and it actually cuts back to the humanoid. He's crawling away into the water like he's still alive. That did nothing. That did not affect him at all. But as soon as you said that, I thought about that. I'm like, they actually panned the camera over, and you could see him crawling into the water. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
One of the things I loved about that whole entire scene, though, is that the fact that they had the radio talk show host continuing to talk throughout the entire fucking thing. There's mass chaos. People are getting ripped apart.
Funny thing about that guy, the same guy, he's the same actor that is in Starship Troopers. When the shit's hitting the fan and the bugs are attacking, he's sitting there on camera still talking and giving a commentary while the bugs are attacking, and he gets killed by one of the bugs on camera. I thought that was hilarious, because I was I wonder if Paul, this is a stretch beyond a stretch, but I wonder if Paul Verhoeven saw Humanoids from the Deep, is like, I want that guy to be the camera guy so we can play that back and like have that like as a little homage. I'm stretching, I know. There's no way in hell.
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say he did that just for that moment. Because what are the odds, though, man? What are the odds?
That's a coincidence, man.
Because it's not like he's this huge, well-known actor. You know, he went out of his way to get this guy specifically.
Exactly.
This, like,
for
very,
almost the exact scene.
Yeah, this very obscure, undergroundish, 80s monster film.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It has to be.
Yeah. It's kind of a coincidence. It's kind of a little bit more of a coincidence. But I thought that was hilarious, because I was like, that guy looks familiar. And then I was like, Starship Troopers. That's the guy that won't stop talking on camera. And of course, he's not going to stop talking on the radio and explain what's going on while a humanoid is in the process of attacking him. I thought that was great. I thought that was wonderful.
Yes.
That was so awesome.
How about the scene where all those dudes with the 2x4s just beat the living shit out of that humanoid? They surround him, and they don't even know what to do. It's looking around, and then they just start beating the shit out of him.
That's the best thing about the whole scene, is the humanoid. He's like looking around, like, what do I do? What do I do? Where do I go?
You going nowhere, humanoid.
So what I love I love a lot of things about this carnival scene, but one thing I do love is, so we notice that in the beginning of the movie, we know Slattery, he's, set up to be the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the villain. He's a racist. You can't stand the dude. He's a dick. He actually, character development, he has like a moment where he's like, oh shit, there's a little kid going by, and he's like, my sister's on the dock. She's falling in. She needs help. He's like, he jumps to her aid. Like, he's not a dick where he's like, oh, sorry kid, you're on your own, and goes off and gets into a safe place. No, he goes out of his way to help this little girl out and save this little girl. And even still, it's like, oh, it's almost a redeeming like moment for his character. And it's like, oh, like, you set up this guy in the whole film until the end to hate him. Like, the audience can't stand him because of the way he is. And then, boom, he's helping this little girl, sacrificing himself almost to save her life. And there's another one of his goons, one of his, like, the head goon, I don't know the guy's name, the guy that's like with him all the time. He even like saves a kid, like goes out of his way to save a kid. I'm like, oh wow, there's like, these characters aren't all flawed. They're they have some redeeming qualities to them. And then on top of that, which I love even more, Slattery's there. He's getting attacked by a humanoid. Guess who saves him? Of all people,
Johnny
Eagle saves him. Yeah, he saves his life. And then he even like gives him his hand. He's like, hell, I'll help you up, get up. And then he has a moment where it's like, wow, this dude saved my life.
And again, differences are pushed aside.
Side, yeah. It's all about survival and life and death. And like, wow, dude, that's heavy shit, man. I love that.
Yeah.
He was like, "You saved me. I am forever your slave."
No,
And Johnny Eagle was like, "You shouldn't use that word, racist." And he's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm newly converted."
I think it plays it forward too, because Jim a couple times like saves him, and he's like, he even made, because it was the fight that they got in, he intervened and helped him. And then when he's getting drugged, when they find the girl at the beach in I guess it's the humanoid nest that they have, which is pretty cool. We didn't really talk about that, but that thing was pretty neat. He gets drugged out to the water. Yeah, he gets drugged out to the water, and Jim like pops the humanoid and saves him, and he's like, "That's twice I owe you my life." So he knows the value of like paying it forward or paying it back. Yeah. So I thought that was cool, man.
That was pretty cool.
Like I said, dude, there's a lot of character development in this movie.
Yeah. And it's so subtle, you might not even realize it unless you're really paying attention. And it's it's really cool. It's really cool that you brought that up, because I noticed it, but I didn't really like consider it character development until now you really like broke it down. And it's like, oh shit, I can see that. The humanoid nest, we kind of skipped over that, but that whole scene was really cool.
Yeah.
Because that was when Dr. Susan Drake, which at one point in the movie, Jim was running around looking for Dr. Drake, and I thought he was saying Dr. Dre. Where's Dr. Dre? I was like, this guy really likes Dr. Dre.
That's awesome.
She was kind of conflicted because, they had the gun. They were there to kill these things. She wanted to study them. So she had her camera. So she's snapping shots as they're getting shot. And they actually ended up taking one back to the lab and kind of experimenting with it. So that whole sequence of events was pretty cool too. And you find out that one of the girls that you thought was dead was alive in the nest. And apparently the humanoid has had his way with her, had the relations. And then long story short, she gets pregnant by one, and then it busts out her stomach, and they ripped off Alien. So, but that whole sequence of events was really cool. And anytime you have like a monster lair or monster nest,
love that stuff.
Yeah, like that's classic, man.
Which is funny because their lair, they even made a point to say, they're aquatic. They can adapt to land, but they're more aquatic. That's their, that's where they, I don't know the correct term, but that's where they should nest, I guess. But no, they nest outside, which I thought that was interesting. I was like, okay. They're more susceptible to being in water and living in water than land. I guess they were trying to adapt, maybe.
Well, they're evolving. Remember, it's explained they're evolving into a human-like creature.
Okay, so that makes sense. I didn't even put two and two together there, but you mentioned that makes sense. But I thought that was pretty neat that their lair was on the beach. That was pretty cool. Just a bunch of seaweed and like, I don't know, it was very crazy. They were like in these things too. I don't even know how to really describe them, but
because it was like just laying there chilling, and he's like,
he woke me up from my nap, like he was.
He just had a big blanket of spinach on him.
That's it. Everybody was covered in spinach, man.
That was spinach. It was just large amounts of spinach. I'm telling you.
But I did want to mention when the chaos at the carnival's going on, so we cut back to Jim's wife that's home by herself. Well, not by herself. Her infant son there. I guess he's more like a toddler. So the humanoids attack her in the house, and she stabs the fuck out of this damn.
She does.
Shit, she goes crazy. Actually,
like Norman Bates style.
I know, dude. I tried to count how many times she stabbed it, and I think I counted 17 times. Because she stabbed it so much that it had an exposed heart, and she was stabbing the shit out of her. You know what movie that reminded me of?
Which one?
That whole scene with the exposed heart and stabbing.
Suspiria?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. I thought that was pretty neat. I instantly thought of Suspiria when that happened. But I'm like, fuck, because I thought about Suspiria, and I'm like, wait a minute. She stabbed him a whole bunch of times. I got to rewind and count how many times she stabbed this damn creature, because it's crazy.
Well, she went ham on one of their arms, too.
She did. She stabbed his arm.
She probably stabbed that thing like 20 fucking times.
It was crazy, dude.
She's like, I'll give you a new rod. Ah. Go fishing with my husband. Ah.
Yeah, dude, she was still pissed off that I guess they killed her dog, because they killed a dog.
Killed her dog. Husband ran off with some floozy scientist. Dr. Dre.
Thinks she knows it all.
Yeah, that's right. And then she opened the door and she saw her husband. I just finished the job.
Quick reflexes on his part, because he was about to get stabbed.
Yeah, he's about to get stabbed in the chest.
Oh, yeah. That was insane. I was really surprised. He was able to just catch it.
He was like, disarm. Kicked it out of her hand.
I love the fact that she put a baby that was like crying and screaming in a closet, and then you couldn't hear it anymore. It's like where's the that's not a well developed door. I would imagine a well built door that you probably still hear that thing.
Because even when he broke through it, he's like, "You okay?" She's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Is John okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, he's fine." I was like, you might want to go check on him."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up in the closet.
He's fine. I threw him in a closet.
Yeah.
What? You do what? Is this before or after your life was threatened? I'm confused. Also, I love how they had that little risque shower scene where you can see the silhouette of her, but didn't show her. And I'm like, come on now, you can't show us. You can't show us one more, Roger Corman.
Roger Corman probably went to her and was like, "Hey, you mind if we film you taking a shower?" Or no, we're not doing that.
Which she must have got over that real quick, because in the Prowler she was showing everything. So she must have got over that real fast.
Yeah, because the Prowler came out in '81, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Indeed. So she's like a year. She had a year to think about it. She's like, maybe I should, maybe I should show it off.
Maybe I'll get more work.
Well, yeah. Seems to be working.
There you go.
Yeah.
Any drives her to the carnival where everyone's lying around dead?
I love that. He's like,
you guys want to go to the carnival?
Yeah, let's go check out everyone, see if everyone made it out alive. And they get there, and people are like getting loaded up in the ambulances, and they're like, all right, well, there's nothing to see here. Let's go back home.
It was such a downbeat way to end it, man. Everybody, that was just. I love that shit though, so that worked for me too. The ending was great. I enjoyed it. Even the alien rip-off scene, I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that was some bad practical effects though.
It was cool. It was cool because a neat little touch to that scene was when the creature popped out of her stomach, her eyes were completely white, like she was possessed or something. Like you see that on possession films. Eyes were just completely white. I was like, well, that's an interesting that's an interesting little touch that
Yeah. Then out pops the ghoulie puppet they didn't use.
It looked like a ghoulie. It did.
It did.
Like its mouth was all sideways and all jank.
It was just hanging off. Like, it was funny.
I wonder if it messed up when it popped up or something. Probably. And they were just like, screw it. Well,
we're not shooting another take. Let's just keep that. That's what we're going with.
Yeah, let's just end this. We've already had a carnival scene.
Oh, that carnival scene is so good.
Yeah.
Can't say it enough.
I guess from there, unless we have anything else to add, we can go to reviews.
Well, I will say.
Oh my God, Corey.
Just real quick, I think it would have been a little bit funnier. or not so much funnier. I guess you would say the film would have definitely been different if Randy was in it.
Damn it.
Dang it.
Oh,
The little alien that popped out was just a reincarnation of Randy.
Randy, yeah.
Or if he
Randy's
was like one of the doctors, which I did find that kind of off-putting. Like, okay, why are you allowing her to have this job? Why, like, obviously you knew that she was pregnant with this thing. Why are you why are you trying? Why didn't you?
Because science.
Science core. Yep, I was gonna say because
Okay.
science.
Trust this. Are you not trusting the science, you little science denier?
If Bill Nye has taught me anything, is you trust the science, man. That's all it's about. It's all it's about.
I was just really surprised that they were like, okay, well, why didn't they just do a C-section to begin with? They were just like, all right, we're gonna do a natural birth today. It was so nonchalantly too. It's like, okay, now get ready to push and
get ready to push. And she's like, got barnacles on her face. That scene made. What are you talking about, man? That scene made Dr. Fauci proud.
It's hokey. It's hokey as hell. But I love it.
If you noticed during the scene when the little alien popped out, they were wearing the mask.
Oh.
No, I'm good, man. I think I've said everything I got in my notes and everything like that. I'm ready to get into some ratings. If you guys want.
Let's do it.
All right. So what'd you guys rate this?
You want me to go? I'll go first.
Okay.
So, man, one thing about this film too that really works for me is the runtime. It does not overstay its welcome. It's the perfect runtime for a film like this.
Mhm.
Like, it's not too long. It's not too long. It's not short enough. It's perfect. I love the runtime. Obviously we've said so much positive about this film. I mean, you got cool creature design, good gore, a lot of character development, some amazing I just have to give it up to the gore. It's almost surprising what they were able to do, and the fact that they were able to linger on these shots and actually really show the audience these amazing effects. I don't know, Steve Johnson and Rob Bottin actually were some of the humanoids, so that's pretty cool. Like two of the top special effects guys in the 80s are humanoids running around attacking and killing people, and it's just funny. It's funny because I don't think we mentioned it, but the guys, the original stuntmen, were like, they looked at the suits and they're like, we're not wearing that shit. Find somebody else. I'm not putting that shit on. So they basically had to, go to these guys to do it. But the fact that they were cool enough to do that, and they were like, fuck it, we'll do it. Like, they believed enough in it, so that's pretty neat. But for a pure enjoyment factor, I know when I do my star ratings, it's not. I don't get into the technical side of it. Is it a really great film? Is it a masterpiece? Is it this? I more or less rate films on my enjoyment level. Now, sometimes I will. I think we've talked about this before, but sometimes I will. If the film is legitimately a masterpiece and a good movie, then of course I'm going to give it a 5-star. But a movie like this, it's a little gem. One of my favorite creature features. I will definitively say that. I love this film. I pop it in. Matter of fact, before we went and did our discussion on it, I watched it like a couple weeks before. So I popped it right in and had a good time with it again. Just the runtime, man, it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's also we forgot to plug Tubi this week.
It is.
It is free on Tubi, so listeners, go download Tubi. All the movies on there are free. You do have to watch ads occasionally, like commercials, but they don't run too long. It's a great app. Tons of awesome titles on Tubi. Including this one. So if you haven't seen it, go download Tubi and check it out.
Check it out, yeah, for sure. I agree. But I'll throw mine out there. I gave it 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. I love this movie, man. I have such a fun time with it.
Well,
yeah. I will say something I've noticed just personally from doing reviews. I think I'm up to a little over 60 reviews on Letterboxd now, just from And granted, those aren't all movies that I've watched recently, but just sitting there and be like, oh yeah, I've seen that movie, and I'll give it a quick review. But the just something I've noticed from doing reviews, like the more I dislike a movie, I might be inclined to write a longer review. Like I gave the longest review I have on there now is The Protector 2. Like I broke that movie down because it was such a big disappointment. And it's, kind of answered a lot of questions like, where's Tony Jaa been? Oh yeah, he started making shit movies. Um, but yeah, this one I was fully prepared to give this movie a 3.5 star. Kind of halfway through, I actually ended up giving it a 4 star because by the time the movie really kicks off, they hit the humanoid nest and the carnival scene. I was like, okay, yeah, this movie rocks. I like it a lot. And the characters, there was never a time where I was like, why would you do that? Like the characters are actually pretty solid, and it's just a solid creature feature, classic 1980s. Actually, my review, I put rapey humanoid fishmen terrorize a small fisherman village of Noyo and impregnate the local babes. A solid creature feature with the good old-fashioned 80s practical effects and lots of breasticles. 4 stars. That's all you need to know. Yeah, it's a fun movie. So 4 stars for this one. I really enjoy it. I really highly recommend it for fans of creature features.
I do as well.
Definitely. Yeah, for me, I broke it down into several things. Atmosphere being one of them. We didn't really talk about the score, and there really wasn't. I didn't pick up on too much of the score. However, in some scenes, it was pretty noticeable, and I enjoyed it. It worked well with some of the scenes. The gore, the practical effects, phenomenal. Ultimately, one of the things that draws me to this film over any creature feature film from the 80s and stuff like that is it is a giant throwback to some of the original creature features, in my opinion. I mean, you can definitely tell, like, when you watch this, you instantly feel like you're watching a classic monster film, hence the title Monster. But overall, just had a blast with it, and the rewatchability is phenomenal, and just everything about it. The only thing that I disappointed me with this film, and the only thing bad I can really definitively say about this film, is the the oversized arms. I just felt the disproportion of those creatures I didn't care for, and then again, like the end scene puppet that pops out of her. That's a cool scene. It's obviously been done, I think, a year prior.
And it's been done better for sure.
But with that being said, like, yeah, I couldn't get over that puppet and how terrible that puppet looked. So ultimately, on those two things is my 4 stars.
Hey,
terrible puppet alien.
Dude's 4 stars is still a great rating.
It's a solid 4 stars too.
Yeah.
I highly recommend this film, and if you haven't seen it, and sorry we spoiled it for you, but you do need to check this out if you're a fan of creature features. And I wanted to just say also, I'm glad that on our suggestion episode, we actually got suggested this one, and it kind of won the drawings. Because it was a fun one to do a review on.
Because honestly, I was telling Corey this, but I was going to say, if this one didn't win, I was going to do it on the roulette episode because I wanted to talk about it. So I'm glad that it got picked for the feature review, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. And even though if you're listening to this now and you've reached the end of the episode and you haven't seen this movie, it's not really a movie that, like, even though we spoiled it, that's not even a big deal. Like, because it's still so fun of a movie. You can go watch it right now, and like have a blast with it, And I mean, this is all you need to know right here. This is the letterbox description of this movie. They're not human. They're not human, but they hunt women, not for killing, for mating. God, there's not a serious description of this movie. I haven't found one yet.
Every description you find of it is more hokey and more hokey and more hokey. But like I said, I think on the surface, and this is my big takeaway for this film, on the surface, it can be really hokey. The premise can be really hokey. It can be sleazy as hell. This and that. But there's really, if you really, really pay attention to stuff, like there's some interesting stuff going on here that you might not notice. You probably have to watch it a couple times to really get it. But when you do, it's like, oh, wow, there's a little bit more to it than just this surface level, hokiness.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's what works for me. I think, I felt like cool character development. Things happen to where characters redeem themselves in the end, and they're not as hated as they were in the beginning of the film. Like it works. Makes you appreciate these people more. You wonder, honestly, to me anyway, how is everybody's relationship after all these events take place? Like, does Slattery and Johnny Eagle get along now? Like, I wonder, I wonder if that really opened his eyes to, the kind of person that he had been judging for the longest time, So
Well, obviously the town did not pull forth with the cannery, I imagine.
It's safe to say that the cannery did not. That happened.
They have a carnival to rebuild.
Yeah. That'd been a horrible PR move on their part if they would have.
So are you guys still on board, or?
Yeah.
I know. Well, our contractor just got his head ripped off.
Right.
Oh, so might want to put a plug in that one, Jim.
I can only imagine that would be. Oh, that would be a pit. So you guys down for it? No? You need time to think about it? Fuck you, man.
Well, I'll call you in a week.
We'll get back with you. Fuck, man. But yeah.
So I will share a little, and for those that are out of state and out of country, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a little local shop that we go to, which is a place called Scratch and Spin, where we movie hunt. I was in there years ago, just hanging out. I knew nothing about this film. This was probably the early years of me collecting horror, and I was just hanging out with Eric in there, and he actually was unboxing some stuff that he just got in for mail or whatever, and he was like, "Oh man, have you ever heard of this movie?" And he slid it to me, and he was like, "This is a great movie," and I was like, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You should check it out." So I actually bought it based upon Eric.
His recommendation. That's cool, dude.
Recommendation. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Eric's got good taste.
Yeah.
He's recommended some good stuff to me too.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. You guys ready to land it?
Let's do it.
All right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. We greatly appreciate you listening, watching on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, all that jazz. Just a quick reminder, don't forget to follow us if you like what you hear. Tell your friends about us. We will be putting out more content in the future. Eventually, our goal is to get better recording equipment. Maybe even have a studio set up. Maybe even do some movie commentaries in the future. That's kind of our goal we're leaning towards. So, and we can't do any of that without your support. And we would, you guys have been awesome. And we really appreciate just everything, all the nice comments we've been getting, and just encouragement from friends and family and such. So it's been awesome. You guys rock. Yeah, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Monster_Corner, TikTok at Midnight Monster 20. The Facebook group, closed group, Ask Nicely Let You In. And this week, like we said, this movie was chosen by the listeners. It is something we do every third week of the month. It's a listener choice. So if you want to get in on that, be sure to follow us on one of the many groups, Twitters, whatever. You can enter or suggest a movie whenever it's announced, and they'll actually enter you in a chance to win a prize. It could be a movie from our collection. It could be just a random prize, something. We're trying to give back to our community here. So, so we want to continue doing that, and the only way we can do that is with your support and just get involved in general. So, but with that being said, don't forget to like, share, subscribe on YouTube, leave us a comment, let us know what you think about the show. That would be freaking awesome. If there's nothing else to add, gentlemen, we are out of here, and we'll see you guys next week.
Later, guys.
Later.